Unit 9, Lesson 4, we're on the back side of the worksheet. We're going to go through problems 13 through 27. So on the front side, you were given degrees, and now you're given radian measurements. So remember, I'm always looking ideally for this to be a 6 or a 4. So 1 over 6, and remember on the top, just as a reminder, we count by 6, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is at an interior angle of 30 degrees. So 1 over 6 is right here. This is 30, this is 60, and now everything else is the same. Across from 60 degrees will be radical 3, across from 30 degrees will be a 1, and this will be a 2. So the sine, the interior angle is always what we are going to be evaluating. Sine is opposite, the ratio of opposite over hypotenuse, 1 over 2 and 2 over 1. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so radical 3 over 2. And then when I take radical 3 over 2 and I rewrite it as a reciprocal, 2 over radical 3, in proper form, it's going to be 2 radical 3 over 3. Tangent is going to be 1 over radical 3, and although 1 over radical 3 is the correct ratio, it's not in proper form. So 1 over radical 3 rewritten is radical 3 over 3. Now when I take 1 over radical 3 and I take the reciprocal, I get radical 3 over 1. This lands in quadrant 1, and in quadrant 1, everything is positive. Let's look now to 1 pi over 4. So 4s will go, anytime we have a denominator of 4, it'll be 1 over 4, 2 over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, and so on. So right here, I have a 45, 45, 90, and this is the interior angle that I'm evaluating. Across from the 45s will be 1s, and across from 90 degrees will be the square root of 2. Sine is going to be opposite over the hypotenuse. So 1 over the square root of 2 is the correct ratio, but when we rewrite that in proper form, we get the square root of 2 over 2. Now 1 over square root of 2, which was the initial ratio before we wrote it, if I take the reciprocal, it's going to be square root of 2 over 1. Cosine will be similar. We have 1 over the square root of 2, rewritten as square root of 2 over 2, and the reciprocal is square root of 2 over 1. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is 1, and the reciprocal is 1. Now this lands in quadrant 1, just like problem number 13. So all star trig class, everything is positive. Let's find pi over 3. Now you may be wondering, aren't we supposed to have a denominator that's a 6 or a 4? We are. So we multiply by 2 and multiply by 2. So pi over 3 is equivalent to 2 pi over 6. So 1 over 6, 2 over 6. So this is 60 and this is 30. Across from 60 is radical 3, across from 30 is a 1, and across from 90 degrees is a 2. The interior angle is what I am evaluating. All right, opposite over hypotenuse is radical 3 over 2. When I take the reciprocal, it's 2 over radical 3. Rewritten is 2 radical 3 over 3. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, 1 over 2, rewritten as 2 over 1, or simply 2. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, so radical 3 over 1. Now when I take this and I take the reciprocal, it's 1 over radical 3. Here's 1 over radical 3, rewritten is radical 3 over 3. This lands in quadrant 1, just like 13 and 14. That means all trig functions are positive. Let's take a look at 16, 17. Okay, let's look at number 16. Now again, we don't have a denominator that it's a 6 or a 4, so we need to rewrite this. Taking the top and the bottom times the same value, I get 8 pi over 6. So let's count within 30-degree increments here. So I'm going to go 1 over 6, 2 over 6, 3 over 6, 4 over 6, 5, 6, 6 over 6, 7 over 6, 8 over 6. So it's down here. This is 60, this is 30, and here's my right. Radical 3, 1, and 2. This is the interior angle I'm evaluating. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and when I rewrite this, I flip it to get 2 radical 3 over 3. The cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse and the reciprocal. The tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, radical 3 over 1. Now when I flip it, I get 1 over radical 3. 1 over radical 3 is rewritten as radical 3 over 3. This lies in quadrant number 3, and in quadrant 3, only the tangents all star trig. Only the tangents are positive and the reciprocal. Everything else gets 1 negative. 11 pi over 6. We're lucky we have 6 in the bottom. Let's count by 6. 1 over 6, 2 over 6, 3, 6. 4, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 8, 6, 9, 6, 10, 6, 11, 6. This is a 30 degrees. This is 60, and this is my right triangle. Okay, across from 60 degrees is radical 3, across from 30 is 1, and across from 90 degrees is a 2. This is the interior angle that I'm evaluating. So opposite of 30 here, this is opposite is 1 over 2, and the reciprocal 2 over 1. The cosine is radical 3 over 2. Radical 3 over 2, and now when I take the reciprocal of this, I get 2 over radical 3, rewritten as 2 radical 3 over 3. The tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. So 1 over radical 3 is correct, but we have to rewrite it in proper form. Radical 3 over 3. Now 1 over radical 3 was right, it just wasn't proper. So when I take the reciprocal for cotangent, that's radical 3 over 1. This lies in quadrant 4, all-star trig class. Class starts with a C, only cosine, and its reciprocal are positive. Everything else gets a negative sign. We have a 4, so let's count by 4s. 1, 2, 3. These are 45s. Across from the 45s will be 1, and across from the 90 will be the square root of 2. This interior angle is what I am evaluating. Sine is 1 over the square root of 2, and 1 over the square root of 2 can be rewritten as square root of 2 over 2. Now the same thing for cosine, 1 over the square root of 2. So square root of 2 over 2 when it's rewritten. Now 1 over square root of 2 was not wrong, it just wasn't proper. So when I take the reciprocals of sine and cosine, I'm just going to flip this thing down here to get square root of 2 over 1, square root of 2 over 1. The tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is 1, and the reciprocal of 1 is still 1. All star, so this is where we start in quadrant 1, all star, S, sine and its reciprocal are positive, everything else gets a negative. Let's look at 19, 20, and 21. We already have a 6 on the bottom, but we have to reverse it because we see a negative sign. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is 30, 60, and 90. Across from 60 is radical 3, across from 30 is a 1, and across from 90 is a 2. This is the angle that I am evaluating. So sine is 1 over 2, along with the reciprocal. Cosine is radical 3 over 2, adjacent over hypotenuse. Now when I flip this to get 2 over radical 3, I can rewrite it as 2 radical 3 over 3. The tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. So 1 over radical 3 is correct, but I got to put it in proper form. Radical 3 over 3. Again, 1 over radical 3 was the correct ratio for tangent. So when I find the cotangent, I'm going to flip 1 over radical 3 will be radical 3 over 1. This lands in quadrant 2, all star, S, sine, and its reciprocal are positive. Everything else is going to get a negative. Counting by 4s. So we're going to drop it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 45, 45, 90. This is the angle that I'm going to evaluate. Opposite of 45s will be 1s, and opposite of 90 will be the square root of 2. So sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So 1 over the square root of 2 is correct, but it's not in proper form. And the same can be said for cosine, 1 over the square root of 2, but it's not in proper form. Now, 1 over the square root of 2 was the correct ratio. So when I find the reciprocals, I'm going to flip it to give us the square root of 2 over 1, or simply the square root of 2. Tangent here will be 1 over 1 because it's opposite over adjacent. That's simply 1. And the cotangent then is simply 1 as well. Now, this is in quadrant 1, all-star trig class, everything is positive. All right, now when I look at 21, the problem is I don't see a 4 or 6 in the bottom. So I'm going to multiply by 2, and I end up with negative 4 pi over 6. So I'm counting backwards because it's negative. And with 6's, so that would be interior angles of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a lot of students are asking, do I go back to the y-axis or x? Everything goes back to the x-axis. So this is going to be 60 and 30. Across from 60 is radical 3. Across from 30 is a 1. This is the angle. It's always the interior angle that we are going to focus on. Sine is opposite over adjacent, so radical 3 over 2. When I take the reciprocal, it's 2 over radical 3, and rewritten as 2 radical 3 over 3. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, and rewritten as 2 over 1. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, so radical 3 over 1. Now radical 3 over 1, when I flip it for the cotangent, will be 1 over radical 3, and rewritten as radical 3 over 3. This is in quadrant 3 all-star trig, so only tangent and its reciprocal are positive. Everything else gets 1 negative. Let's look now at 22. Taking a look at 22, 23, and 24. Again, I don't see a 4 or 6, so I need to rewrite this in equivalent. Whatever I multiply times the bottom, I must also multiply times top. So I end up with 28 pi over 6. Now I know, just understanding the unit circle, that 1 revolution is 12. How do I know that? Counting by 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let me do this nicer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1 revolution is 12. 2 revolutions would be 24. I'd be here at 24, 25, 26, 27. Here is 28. Now, how do I know whether to go to the y-axis or the x? We always go back to the x. That makes this a 60 and a 30. And this is the angle that I'm looking at. Across from 60 would be radical 3. Across from 30 is 1. And across from 90 is 2. Sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. When I flip that, I get 2 over radical 3 and rewritten correctly. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse and taking the reciprocal. Now tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. Radical 3 over 1. When I flip it, I get 1 over radical 3 and rewritten is radical 3 over 3. This lands in quadrant 2, all star, only sine and its reciprocal are positive. Everything else receives a negative. We already have a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is the 13. So these are 45s. And I'm going to evaluate this interior angle. Across from the 45s will be 1s, and across from 90 will be the square root of 2. Sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, so 1 over the radical, 1 over square root of 2 is the correct ratio, but let's rewrite it in proper form. Square root of 2 over 2. And the same thing can be said for the cosine, 1 over the square root of 2. Now when I take 1 over the square root of 2 and I take the reciprocal for cosecant and secant, it's just going to flip. Square root of 2 over 1, square root of 2 over 1. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, 1 over 1 and 1 over 1. As a reminder, trig functions are simply a way to create a ratio or a fraction describing two sides of a right triangle and comparing those. This lands in quadrant number 3, all-star trig, so T. Only tangent and cotangent are positive. Everything else gets a negative. All right, we don't have a 6 at the bottom again, times 2 and times 2. Negative 34 pi over 6. So I'm going to reverse it. Counting by 6s, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1 revolution reversed is 12. So here's 12, 24. Now if I go one more time, it'd be 36. That's too much. In fact, it's too much. So I believe I'm going to land here, but let's try. 12, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 30, oh, I could call it 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So here's where we are. This is 60, and this is 30, across from 60, across from 30, and across from 90. We're going to evaluate this interior angle. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and the reciprocal would be 2 over radical 3, rewritten properly. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse and rewritten. Tangent is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, so radical 3 over 1, rewritten as 1 over radical 3, and in proper form is radical 3 over 3. This is in quadrant number 1. Everything is positive. All right, let's look now at the last ones. These look a little bit trickier. Let me move these signs back here. I'm now going to go to pi. So 1 pi, again, we want to write it with a 4 or 6. It's your choice. I'm going to go times 6 times 6. So 6 pi over 6 is equivalent just to pi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where we are. And so there is no way for us to make a triangle, but I know the ordered pair here is -1, 0. So the sine, remember CBS, this is the cosine, this is the sine. The sine is 0. The cosine is -1. Now tangent is the same. Tangent of an angle is sine over cosine. So 0 over -1 is 0. Now let's take the reciprocals of these. So the reciprocal of sine, I can put a 1 underneath all of these. Always can put a 1 underneath. Your value doesn't change anything. So for sine, if I take the reciprocal of sine to get cosecant, 0 over 1 becomes 1 over 0. 1 over 0 is undefined. Secant, 1 over -1 is simply -1, and 1 over 0 is again undefined. Let's take a look at pi over 2. I'm going to take it times 2 to get 2 pi over 4. So 1 over 4, 2 over 4. So this is my line, and this is the point 0, 1. All right, this is cosine and sine. So the sine is 1, the cosine is 0. I'm going to put over 1. Tangent is sine over cosine. Well, 1 over 0, we can't do that. It's undefined. Cosecant, if we flip around 1 over 1, we end up with 1. Or we flip around 1 over 0, it's undefined. And if we flip 0 over 1, 0 over 1 is simply 0. Let's go to our last one. 3 pi over 2, I'm going to take them times 2 to get 6 pi over 4. 1 over 4, 2 over 4, 3 over 4, 4 over 4, 5 over 4. Here's 6 pi over 4. This is 0 and -1. Cosine before sine. So my sine is -1. My cosine is 0. My tangent is sine over cosine. Well, -1 over 0 is undefined. And 0 over 1 is 0. -1 over 1 is -1. Now, if I take the reciprocal of sine, I still end up with -1. If I take the reciprocal, I'd have 1 over 0. I can't have 0 on the bottom. It would be undefined. And the reciprocal of -1 over 0 would be 0 over -1, which is simply 0.